Now? How about
Hello.
now? Wait, hello? All right, 149. Again, we're doing it from home for fucking obvious reasons, motherfuckers. All right, do we need to start right in on the fucking virus?
Rick, you seem sick.
No, I'm
Do
just
you
tired.
have the infection?
No, I don't. I'm just sleepy because I still have to get 5 workouts in, and that means that I'm staying up till 3, 4 in the morning because I can't go from gym to gym to gym. I set up two gyms. I've got one upstairs and I got one downstairs. But somehow between the TV watching and the restoring micro mosaics and the 5 workouts, I'm. Oh, and yeah, let's not talk about the other stuff. Anyway, I'm up late.
Okay. So, Rick, would you like to begin your thoughts?
Um, just that the numbers are tragic, but they tend to be what anybody who understands numbers think they were going to be. 10 days ago we broke 50 U.S. deaths in a day. Yesterday we broke 500 U.S. deaths in a day. And, a lot of people don't think it'll peak until June if we're lucky. And even Anthony Fauci is saying 100,000 to 200,000 U.S. deaths, again, if we're lucky. So it's some tragic shit.
Where did he say that? I didn't hear him say that.
He said it, I don't know, because it was quoted a gazillion times on TV today. I can Google it and see where he said it, but he for sure said it.
Yeah,
I
let's
saw
hear
it too.
that.
There's a video.
I would like to hear him say that 100,000 people are going to die.
Here it is.
Can you send me a link to my I don't know
All you have to do
my
is
Yahoo
you're
Mail?
sitting in front of your computer, right? Just
Yeah.
Google Fauci, and it shows up under the news. It's his most prominent quote of the day.
All right.
He was talking to Jake Tapper on State of the Union.
I see it. Fauci, 100,000 deaths.
Yeah.
Let me just see about that. Well, it's taking a long time to come up because
Okay.
we're talking here. So, deaths, Fauci, deaths could near, U.S. will have millions of cases and over 100,000 deaths. That
Yeah.
was 6 hours ago.
More than that, but that may be the article because he was on one of the Sunday morning. He was on a Sunday morning show. Anyway, you're reading.
Okay. I don't. I think Fauci is wrong. Here, I'm
What?
going.
Okay, so
I'm going.
good. I'm going to mute because it causes sound problems when I don't, and you're going to take a couple minutes to tell me why. Tell us
All right.
why.
Okay. All right. So have you muted so that my voice is clear? All right. So here's the thing. I've been tracking the deaths, and they go up 25% every time. So the last couple of days, it's only been 400 or 500 a day, and it's not increasing to 600 or 700 or 800 a day. But so I think it's going to start leveling off. But you're asking, so why would I disagree with the guy that's the head of Trump's task force? And here is my opinion. We now, since last week, we now have 3 different drugs that will work. All right, we've got the hydroxychloroquine with Z-Pak and zinc. We've got another drug that the Italians are using, and the Japanese, and we've got a third drug, Ribavir or something. I know it'd be better if I was precise, but they now have three that are working. And I think that they've also, I've kept track, they've got about 15 million doses in the United States of hydroxychloroquine. 10 million donated by the Israelis, 3 million donated by Bayer, the company, and I assume we had to have some in the country ourselves. So I think if we just keep giving that medication to the people that are sick, given that hardly anybody, there's a doctor in New York that says he's given it to 650 people, and every single one of them survived. So I don't understand why we would have this many deaths if we could simply give people the medication that will cure them. All right, I'm done. Unmute yourself, Rick. Unmute you. I can't hear you. Rick? I can't hear Rick.
Okay, here now.
All right, I can hear you now.
All right. It's not my phone, it's my wife's phone. So I'm not great at using it, but all right. So you said you're tracking the daily deaths. So, fucking 8 days ago, 46 deaths. Then, all right, 46, then 113, 141, 225, 247, 400. 525 yesterday. Today only 264 because Sundays, I don't know, maybe we got lucky today, or also Sundays tend to be lower because I don't think everybody reports on Sundays because it's kind of, but anyway, it's not like the deaths are going down. They went from from the 27th to the 28th, they went 268 one day, then 400, then 525. So
yeah, I know, but my point is that they're not increasing. If they were simply increasing at a steady rate, then eventually there'd be 2,000 a day, 5,000 a day. Mute. Did you mute?
No, because you're only saying two sentences. I can't mute every time you say something. If you're going to say a long thing, I can mute. So just fucking deal. We will have 2,000 U.S. deaths in a day sometime in April. We're going to hit 1,000 a day by Easter, and we'll probably hit 2,000 by the end of April. I mean, because that's what the numbers tend to indicate, unless you're right and chloroquine really has the efficacy you say it has, and it can be distributed, and the side effects don't kill people.
Okay, mute your thing, because I'm going to speak. All right, have you muted? Okay, so here's the deal. What I'm interested in is how for 3 weeks now, I have been telling everybody that will listen, including the person on this show, Rick, that hydroxychloroquine works, that there's a cure, and that once there's a cure for something, and that the cure is widely distributed, there's no longer any reason to panic. You just, according to the what I've read, you take one dose, I think it was 500 milligrams, 10 days in a row. I don't have to give you the exact dosage, but it wound up being something like a total of 10 pills, and coupled with zinc and an antibacterial called Z-Pak, and people are being cured. Now, my point is that the people that don't believe me are the Democrats. In fact, I have not been able to convince any Democrats that there's a cure. So what interests me is not that there's a cure, which I knew there was 3 weeks ago. That's not news to me. What interests me is that the Democrats are panic-stricken, and I would just like to say that I would be perfectly happy to meet Rick at his house, except he has been driven insane by the Democrats and can't even accept that there's a cure because Trump said it. And it's very important, I believe, for the Democrat newspaper and Twitter and all the sources that poor Rick reads to convince him that there's no cure. He has to feel like Trump is in charge of basically an apocalypse where the world is ending, or light will break into Rick's mind, and he'll become not a zombie anymore. He'll say, well, gee, Trump said that hydroxychloroquine works, and here, if it turns out that it works, then Rick will have to say, well, gee, maybe Trump knew something that the Democrat newspapers and Twitter didn't know. And Rick could go on with his life. He could leave.
But Trump is famously a dumb shit, and the coronavirus is in 199 countries and territories, and it's racking up. I'm trying to find how many people die a day around the world. Now, you'd think that if everybody knows that the chloroquine is the cure, you'd think that some fucking country would be using it on everybody who has it and saving people. Or you'd think that they'd be using it in New York. So, like, it's the entire world that somehow is ignoring Trump's fucking insight. I know that they are doing clinical trials with this shit in various places, including the U.S., but there's not conclusive evidence yet. Now, I turned 60 in 5 weeks, and the fatality rate for people 60 and above, or in the people 60, is 3.6%. So you want me to drive to you, or you want to come to me, and I'm perfectly happy doing it this way. And I believe in the risk of 3.6%. I maybe don't have a pre-existing condition because I'm in pretty good shape, yet I had cancer surgery last year, so maybe I shouldn't consider myself in that good a shape. And why should I put my life in Trump's hands that you're saying that Trump discovered a cure?
Okay, mute. All right, I'm going to speak now. Mute your phone. Because the reason that I was hoping that you would risk your life is because we had really bad sound last week, and now we're trying to get the speakers to work. So Rick has to keep muting when I'm talking, so that we can get the sound better for our millions of listeners. Anyway, I'd be willing to meet in a park, in a public place. Now, the fact that Rick would have to get a hold of some hydroxychloroquine, I guess, is okay. They may not have it at the place they rush him to. That's true. So his life is less certain. I mean, there is more of a risk. But my point is, I have now had this exact same discussion with 10 other Democrats since last week. And also 10 Republicans, roughly. The Republicans all say, oh, so there's a cure. Like when you get an infection they used to have to chop your arm off. Well, now all you have to do is take antibiotics, and they don't have to. The swelling goes down, and you don't get gangrene, and you're not worried about that. You're worried about it if you can't get the antibiotics, but if you can, then you just say, oh, it's no big deal. My arm is all red. I'll go to the doctor. I'll get pills. I'll take them 10 days, and then I'll be okay. Well, you can't convince a Democrat of that. You see, here's a situation.
You know what would fucking convince a Democrat is scientific proof, so give it fucking 3 weeks or 4 weeks to see if the shit really works when decent clinical trials are done. So you say, show me the guy who gave it to 650 people.
All right.
Okay, so because Democrats will be perfectly willing to believe that the shit works when studies show beyond a reasonable doubt that it works the way fucking science is done. Now there's some early indications that it may work, but why do I need to meet you in a park until before trials actually show that it fucking works? And these aren't going to be regular fucking trials where it takes 3 years. They have to go through phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. No, these will be trials where they give it to a bunch of sick ass people and see if they fucking get better.
All right, you'll have to turn your phone off.
I've got a computer. Yeah. I've got a computer right in front of me.
Well, we've got to pause this because I have to find the doctor.
Well, it doesn't matter. Can we just go on?
No, because it's very important that if I say there's a guy that's cured 640 people, you have to see that. I'd also like to say something else that you're not addressing, and it looks like the number of people dying are less than 1%. And did you know, by the way?
Where? Now wait, hold on. Number of people dying in the U.S.?
Yeah, less than 1%.
Because the number of dead is 2,500. The total cases in the U.S. is 142,000. So that's a rate of like 1.6, 1.7%.
Yeah, and they think that the reason that the cases to deaths is so high is because they don't know they believe the true number of cases is vastly higher. So you're a math guy. If the true number of cases is vastly higher, then it's less than 1%.
Yeah, I can kind of give you that.
So you've got a less than 1% chance of dying, even if you get it.
Yeah, that's for all people, but I'm on the verge of being in an elevated risk group. And even if do you regularly do shit that has a 0.8% chance of killing you? Would you go to fucking Knott's Berry Farm if a year of going to Knott's had a 1% chance of killing you? You might, but would a reasonable person? I mean, the risks that we take in everyday life are not the risks we willingly take don't run 0.8%. Because then,
first of all, I want you to look up. I can't find the doctor with the 640 deaths, that 640 people that he cured. Are you muting so people can hear me? Are you muting? All right. So I can't find that doctor right this second, but I want you to look up Didier Raoult. He's the doctor that we looked up last week. Last week he cured 39 out of 40 people, and since then he's cured a few hundred more with the same thing. And the only people he couldn't cure there was a mother and a son, and they think they may have had some sort of genetic resistance, and one guy who was already dying when they brought him in, and he was 86 years old. But Didier Raoult has cured as many people in France. So can you look that up, please? You can look him up.
I'm looking at him right now. He looks like an old fucking hippie. He looks like me if I quit fucking cutting my hair for another year. So okay. So the deal is, all right, so this one guy has cured, say, 38 out of 40 people. And then he had excuses for the other two, which gives you a death rate of 2.5%, which is like the rate we've been talking about. So,
No,
I mean, I still
you,
want to wait on fucking clinical trials. 2 people out of 40 that he further gave the drug to are dead.
no. Are you muting so people can hear me?
I can't mute every time you say a fucking. But go ahead. I'm muting here.
All right. Since those results occurred, DDA Ralt has tried this drug on hundreds more people and cured them. What do you think? I mean, my question to you is this, and then you can unmute me. How many people will satisfy you? Because my point is, these clinical trials are not to find out if the thing works. It's a number they're trying to hit so doctors won't get sued. In other words, they want to be able to say, yeah, we gave it to 20,000 people and there were never any side effects and everyone was cured, so that nobody has a lawsuit against some doctor. But if you want to know whether the stuff works, sure it works. Of course it works.
I want the shit to be standard of care at some fucking major fucking treatment center in the U.S. That's what I want. I thought about it. That's what I want. If it's standard of care for patients who meet a certain disease profile, like maybe they do a study, maybe they study it and they find out, well, it works on these people, it doesn't work on these people. But if it becomes the standard of care for some significant percentage, say for hospitals in New York City where they're having many hundreds of deaths a day, then yeah, okay, I'll be convinced. And I mean, not only does it have to be standard of care, but it also has to cure, say, over, I don't know, 90% of the people who get it. Is it I don't know what the percentage that they say cure is, but 90% seems like a reasonable number. So if that shit happens, if New York City starts saying, yeah, that we've looked at the studies or we've done studies ourselves, or if some other fucking, when Florida gets bad and Miami General says we're doing it, it's working, then, and here are the statistics, then I'll fucking believe it. Why do I have to believe it prematurely just to support Trump?
Well,
why do I have to meet you in a park to tape this fucking show? Though if we met in a park, I'd have us meet in the park where they shot Say Anything, because I know where that park is, so we could stand where John Cusack stood holding a boombox to declare his love for Ione Skye. But I'm not doing that till they fucking have prove the chloroquine works.
All right. Can you shut down our show, because I'm not going to be satisfied until I find this article, okay?
Okay, director, you want to cut? I guess.
All right. So, number one, I just sent the article. I managed to find the article and send it to Rick. And it's you can look it up yourselves. It's a Dr. Vladimir Zelenko. Sorry that it's a Russian. Has now treated 699 patients, and none of them have died. This is in Tech News, Startup News. And then I found another article, and this is about the other drug I mentioned that the Italians are using, called Actemra. So it turns out, and by the way, the Chinese were also using Actemra and hydroxychloroquine. So in other words, you didn't even, this virus is so not dangerous that they didn't even have to make anything up that was new. They just used things they already had. So one more reason that I'm just not panicking. And one last thing I'd like to say to Rick before I sign off, because we can't overlap, and that is we've already lost 5 times as many people to flu, regular flu, as we have to coronavirus. So I don't understand why Rick is panicking right now. I know he's done the math, and he says that he's, basically playing Russian roulette if he leaves the house. But we didn't feel this way a year ago when we had a flu season that killed 70,000 people. Imagine that. A flu season killed 70,000 people, and the swine flu under Obama killed, now it looks like it might have been 17,000 people.
You just say 17. Hold on. Now I'm going to interrupt. You say 17,000. That's just what Trump fucking tweeted based on the CDC's number for the best estimate. There's a plus or minus on it, but the CDC says their best estimate of the number killed by swine flu from 2009 to 2010 was 12,469. You guys are loving to inflate it because your guy Trump started inflating it. I've heard 20,000 now, but fucking stick with the CDC number or no, justify.
I'm actually not going to. I'm going to go with Trump because
just pulls numbers out of his substantial asshole.
Did you mute me?
No, because I don't know how many fucking sentences you're. Because we're going back and forth. I'm not going
to. Okay, all right. So Rick, the reason I'm going to go with Trump's number is because Trump has now started 3rd phase clinical trials of Actemra and hydroxychloroquine, and the CDC didn't say a fucking thing about those things. Frankly, I trust Trump more than I do the CDC.
So Trump makes up a number. The CDC tracked the shit.
No. If he says it's 17, it's probably true. But
He also said he just makes up whatever. He can't remember the number. He just makes up a number. He said 13,000 one time. He said 17. So which Trump are you going to believe, the 13,000 or the 17,000?
Rick, I've seen 14,000. And regardless of whether it was 14,000, 12,000, or 17,000, you didn't say a fucking thing about it because you're a Democrat and you're brainwashed into loving Obama. You didn't say a word. We did this show a year ago, Rick, and you didn't say anything about the 70,000 flu deaths. And
do you get a flu vaccine every year, fucking Lance?
No, I don't.
I get a flu vaccine.
I didn't hear you say one word about the swine
Carol
flu.
gets a flu vaccine. And what? They had a swine flu vaccine within 6 months of the first cases, or actually no, 5 months of the first cases showing up in the U.S. They had it ready. They hauled ass and they had it ready in time for the start of the school year.
Okay, Rick. I don't.
And okay, the average number of daily deaths from swine flu was 34. We're already 10 times that now from this shit, and the numbers keep going up. So the idea that this isn't going to surpass, I mean, this will overtake your what about fucking number for swine flu deaths next month in April.
It might. I don't think it will, though.
I'll bet you $3,500. I will bet you, I'll bet you $8,000 that it overcomes. And here's Anthony Fauci he was on Laura Ingraham. You love Laura Ingraham, so he was on her show. Ingraham says, a lot of people are messaging me during the day about hydroxychloroquine and other antivirals. So heaven forbid something happened to you, Dr. Fauci. You get a positive coronavirus test and you fell ill. Would you feel comfortable taking one of the new antivirals? Fauci noted that he is a believer in a clinical trial And while he may want to help myself, he also wants to get an answer on whether the drug is actually effective. Quoting, so I might take one of those drugs, but I would do it within the auspices of a controlled clinical trial. He continued, I've always felt that way. Also, your Vladimir dude treated 699 symptomatic patients. Now, we know how fucking hard it is to get tested for this shit, and when you do get tested, it usually takes 4 or 5, sometimes 8 or 10 days. So when he didn't say he treated 700 people who tested positive for coronavirus. He treated 700 people who had symptoms that were consistent with coronavirus, and none of them died. But how many of them actually have coronavirus? Because the positive rate for...
Are you looking up... First of all, is there an echo? Is there an echo, director? Director, how's my sound?
All right, so if you look at the number of tests that have now been given, and now we're given a decent number of tests. So out of 830,000 tests given in the U.S. so far, 140,000 were positive, just under 700,000 were negative. So one person in 6, I mean, who felt like they should get tested, test positive. So a lot of people think they might have it, or just want to be sure they don't because they were exposed, and only one person in 6 out of the people who get tested actually have it. So out of the 700 people he tested, we don't know whether 200 had it, 300 had it, 150 had it.
Okay, Rick.
He didn't test. Rick. He didn't treat people who had taken a. He doesn't say how many of those people that he treated tested positive.
Okay, Rick. Mute your sound so I can talk now without an echo.
Hold on, because it takes me a sec to get the button.
All right. So Rick is now desperately trying to prove to me that hydroxychloroquine doesn't work, or something. Now, I saw that interview with Gauci and Laura Ingraham myself, and what she wanted to do was to say to him, if you had it, would you take this thing? And he is a doctor that's used to malpractice, and so he says, I would want to take it as part of a clinical trial. Yeah, I heard him say that. Because he can't just tell people. He represents the authority government body, and he doesn't want a million lawsuits. He doesn't.
So wait, all right, that point, I'm going to give you that point because that makes sense. All right, that's fine.
Okay, and now the other thing is, as far as this New York doctor, Dr. whatever, he's got a Russian name, and as far as the Actemra, which is being used in Italy and China, I do not understand the desperation on your part, Rick, to prove that these things don't work. I mean, it scares me that a man is so brainwashed by the Democrat Party that because the Republicans come up with a cure, because Trump says that there's something that'll work, you have to knock it down. If Nancy Pelosi said it would work, you'd say, yes, in fact, Trump is an evil orange man for not getting enough doses. Where are the doses? Why can't I get a dose? You see how your mind is working?
I'm brainwashed by fucking science, Lance. Lance, when was the last, were you, I was a physics major. I took all these fucking courses in actual science and experimental method, and the deal is, if we wait 3 weeks, we'll fucking know about some of these drugs, for sure. Well, within some when I quit being a physics major, I was a fucking statistics major. So I was brainwashed by my background. So if you want, I'm one of the, if you, one of the things that got me the highest IQ in America was solving problems in probability and statistics. So like
Probability and statistics.
that's fucking right. I'm fucking great at understanding probability and statistics. Also, I'm lazy. I like being at home now, and I don't want to fucking drive to a park if I don't have to. We've got this way to do it. We've got an excuse to do it this way. So I like doing it fucking this way.
I agree with you, but the sound, so long as the sound is good. How's my sound, director? How's my sound?
We can't, I don't know, the director might be Peter.
All right, so listen to me, Rick. Okay, so Rick, how do you explain the guy in France that has now done hundreds of people? Is he lying? See, I understand that you're a genius with statistics, but my problem is this, Rick. If 600 people or 300 people in France, or in other words, we are now starting hydroxychloroquine. That is the preferred thing in New York. They're treating people by the thousand now. Why is it that?
When you say they, who do you mean they? Are the major coronavirus treatment centers hitting people with that shit now?
Yes. It's these clinical trials that Fauci's talked about on the Ingram show are going on all over the U.S. right now. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of people being treated with hydroxychloroquine. Now, I may not be a scientific genius, but it doesn't take much to realize that the fucking stuff is working, and I'm not afraid anymore.
Okay, so here's what I'll give you. I'll fucking give you. Yesterday's coronavirus deaths in the U.S. were 525. Today they were half of that, 264. Now, if that turns out to be because of the chloroquine, and not because people don't turn in their statistics on a weekend, if the numbers keep, not ballooning crazily, and it turns out to be because chloroquine works, then I'll give you that chloroquine fucking works, and it'll be a good thing.
Well, the numbers aren't the past 2 days, they've stopped going up in this sort of exponential way.
That's not fucking true. That's not true. They've gone down one day. They've gone down.
I know, but if we string 3 or 4 days together, that means the curve is flattening.
It's not fucking flattening. They went down one fucking day. That's it.
I understand.
And they were exponential. They were exponential, and in some cases beyond exponential, for all this time until today. And I don't trust the weekend statistics because I looked back on the weekend statistics and they tend to bump downward because I think the fucking stats reporters may not work on weekends. But I'll tell you, when you talk about exponential, 3 days ago, 268. The next day, up by near
25%. It's always 25%.
No, fucking not 25%. Up by 50% to 400. 268 to 400 is a 49% increase. Then 400 goes to 525, which is a 31% increase.
Yeah, no, but what happens is each day, this is what I was seeing by the math. Each day, the number, okay, let me put it to you this way. If it started at 10, it goes up 2.5. So it goes up 25% of 10. You add that to the 10. That's 12.5.
I know what helps. Yeah, 12.
Then 25% of that is more than 2.5.
Yeah, it goes to 16. It goes to, you add 3.1.
Yeah. So I've been tracking a 25% increase every day. Now the number
it goes to 156. But
the number keeps getting higher, but the rate is 25%.
Well, no, but I just told you the last 2 days, except for today, the rate was 49% and 31%. So And now,
All right. So here's my second question,
yeah.
Rick. So why you were telling me last week that number one, this hydroxychloroquine was some crazy idea in that orange asshole's head that you hate more than ever.
I don't think I was
turns out
saying that. I just wanted it to fucking have trials.
Wait,
It's a
and they do.
it's a drug
Wait.
that's used to treat shit quite successfully, malaria and a bunch of other shit.
And wait, there's more. The second thing is that you were all worried that we weren't getting enough tests, and since we did this show a week ago,
now we have a bunch of tests.
We've tested more people than all of South Korea did in a month. And we've got a new test that'll test you in between 5 and 15 minutes. So how do you feel about that? So Trump was a murderer.
Well, I'll tell you fucking how I feel.
Okay,
let me answer the question. We're doing 100,000 tests a day now, which is good. But the trouble is, I mean, it's good. It's fucking good. And it may help slow things down eventually. But the deal is that we have 142,000 confirmed cases in the U.S. now, and probably roughly the same number of unconfirmed cases. Had we done testing early like South Korea had its first case within 24 hours of us having our first case. South Korea tested the fuck out of their people early, and they didn't have to shut down, I don't think, or at least they didn't have to shut down for long, because they found everybody with it within reason. So now fucking South Korea has like the number of people having the number of new cases in South Korea is now less than 1% of their total number of cases, and it's been that way for a while. Our number in new cases is still like 20-30%, and we're generating 30% of the world's new cases. It's us 30%, the rest of the world 70%. So the trouble with testing now is that we already have 100,000 people out there, some of whom are running around, spring breakers, for instance, who, the way to get a handle on it, the containment stage, is testing early. And we had a 6-week, 7-week delay in testing widely, and it's good now. We can still, and we might still be able to keep up some kind of a lid on it, but we will need to ramp up the testing to, 500,000 tests a day or more for a couple, 3 months to get a significant chunk of the population tested now that the horses are out of the fucking barn. Now that Louis C.K.'s penis is out of his pants.
But you were telling me last week that Trump was a murderer because he didn't have enough tests, and now we've got more tests than anywhere else on Earth.
Yeah, because
he's
still a fucking murderer because he didn't do the test. He and the CDC fucked up because they didn't do the testing early. Everybody, Fauci and a bunch of other people, there's the containment stage, the phase, and there's the mitigation phase. And everybody says we're in the mitigation phase. I'm wondering if there's a possibility that if we can do enough testing for long enough now, that we can have a hybrid situation where we can start getting some of the containment phase back. So I'm giving a little credit to the testing now. But the most essential time for testing was within the first couple weeks of it showing up in a country. And
within 3 weeks, he shut down all travel with China. So
he shut down travel from China 3 weeks after we had cases, so it was already spreading in the U.S.
Because he wasn't hysterical like you.
He wasn't sufficiently concerned like me.
He wasn't. Yeah, he was. I think treating it like it's a normal flu, which is what it's going to turn out to be. So he didn't panic, but he waited 3 weeks. What did Obama do in 3 weeks after the swine flu hit this country? Nothing.
So yeah, you listen to your fucking, no, the fucking, why do you read a non-conservative source as to what Obama did?
He didn't do a fucking thing.
Obama declared a public health emergency.
That did nothing.
In April, after 20 cases had shown up in the U.S., 20, just fucking 20. When we had 15 cases of the corona, Trump said it's no big deal. They'll be gone within a couple weeks. Obama declared public health emergency, started work on a vaccine. They had a vaccine within 5 months. He declared a national emergency.
5 months? By your numbers, everyone in America will be dead by coronavirus in 5 months, Rick.
They won't, but Trump is now crowing that he's going to be a hero because we're only going to and this comes out of your guy's mouth, that we're only going to have 100,000 to 200,000 deaths.
Yeah, we're not even going to.
Trump says if we'd done nothing, Trump says if he'd done nothing, we would have had 2.2 million deaths. This is your guy saying this. Now that prompts the question, like, what kind of fucking president would do nothing? So he's giving himself credit for doing something, but we may still have hundreds of thousands of deaths according to your fucking president and Anthony Fauci. So
yeah, I don't
now
think
if one of these fucking antibiotics
we have
or
a
some
cure
combination like works, then we will have dodged a major bullet. And that's good fucking news for me, for grandmas across the fucking country.
I predicted that this would happen 3 weeks ago, when you couldn't even leave the house 3 weeks ago.
Why
I said this is all going to blow over. It's going to wind up being no different from a normal flu season. I think I even said something about they'll find a cure. Don't worry about it. And that's what's going to happen. Just like I predicted.
Okay,
I'm not panicking. Wait, there's more. I have a couple of questions for you. Okay, first of all, and it also turns out that the reason we don't have all those ventilators is because the governor of New York, Governor Cuomo, and Obama never replaced the ventilators. And also, Governor Cuomo of New York was told in 2015 that New York only had 2,000 ventilators, and they gave him a choice. They said, what should we do about it? And he said, let's do nothing. We'll do a study on how we can get by with 2,000 ventilators. Don't interrupt me. Now they've got, because of Trump, they have 40,000. 40,000. And he was blaming Trump for not getting enough of these ventilators, and it was all his fault. Instead, he took the money, Cuomo did, and put it into green energy projects. That's absolutely true. Billions, for millions and millions for clean energy projects. I'm not done. And it turns out that it was Obama, after the swine flu, cut the CDC by millions. He was the one that cut the CDC budget, not Trump. After the swine flu,
no, that's bullshit. Maybe Obama did some
it's absolutely true.
Trump.
It's absolutely true. He cut.
Then,
Obama cut.
Well, then,
Obama cut.
Then you have
Obama
to fucking
cut.
show me. You have to show me. Well, cut. The director will
Obama,
cut. You'll pull up an
Obama
article.
cut.
Pull up
Yeah,
an
I'll
article.
pull up an article.
And show me.
All right, cut the camera. I'll pull up an article. Cut the show.